Hello and welcome to another of our Inkscape Basics series, and in this one we're going to be looking at the text tool. So on the toolbar on the left hand side, the text is the large letter A. Click on that and my mouse cursor has turned to letter A with a little crosshair. So I click and I'll get a cursor appearing where the crosshair is. So I can just now type and it's like any other simple word processor, so I can jump from letter to letter using Control and the arrows, and I can just insert a line space. I can move around with the arrow key and add an apostrophe. There's even in the text menu here, there's a spell checker, so it's pretty much as you'd expect. Now what I can't do once I've created it is grab it as an object to move it around by using the S key, because S being a letter will just give me another letter S, and I don't want that. So two ways around that. One is just use the arrow icon for select, or the F1 key does the same as the S key. So F1 puts me into object select, and incidentally F2 is node select. So F1 and F2 do the same things as the S and the N key for select and select objects and select nodes. So now I've got that as select mode, I can move that around. I can duplicate it with Control D. So oops, didn't grab it properly. I need to make sure I'm actually clicking on some of the ink rather than just the white space in the box to be able to select things. Now I can, if I double click, so I've got the text function back up again. I can see I've got a cursor in the word, and I can go and change the weight, for instance. I can change the font size, so take that to 36, and that works pretty well. I do want to show you, however, a little trap that I've fallen into in the past. So if I select the text like that, which was my instinct quite often, and then I reduce the point size. The point size has changed, but the line spacing hasn't, so that's gone all to pot in terms of the proportions. I tend to be quite fussy about line spacing, and you'll notice at the top here the fourth box along, which says spacing between lines, or baselines, is 1.25. Now, people who design fonts work very carefully to get all the measurements right so it looks easy on the eye and it reads well, and therefore 1.25 is sort of putting more space than it's designed to have, and that probably works well if you've got headlines and banners, but if you've got body text I would definitely reduce that down to 1.0, which is the sort of the standard each font was designed to have. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into select mode, and I'm going to zoom in. Now I'm just going to quickly recap some of the ways of zooming. So I tend to use Control and mouse, and that zooms towards wherever the mouse wheel, and that zooms towards wherever the mouse pointer is pointing. Another way a lot of people use is the plus key and minus key. Zooms in and out. There's also, I'd like to bring your attention to these three icons at the top. So they've all got a magnifying glass. Now the first one is a selection of magnifying glass. So if I click that, the object we've got selected, which is this piece of text, now fills the screen. The next one has two things selected in the icon. So that means basically all the artwork you've created in this document now fills the screen. And the third one fits the page, so in this case the default A4 page, to the screen. So those are quite useful, and again mousing over them it shows that I have quick keys of 3 for selection, 4 for all the artwork, and 5 for the page. That's quite useful to know. Okay, I'm just going to delete this bottom section. Now there's also a sidebar for text, which is this letter T. So bringing that up gives me a font list down here, and if I click on a font, I get a preview. In fact, I need to have the object selected, so that's better. So if I now click on that, it'll offer me an apply option. So if I apply that, we can now, it's now converted that. I'm actually going to undo that for now. And zoom in again, keep zooming in, zooming in. That's, I was holding shift down, not control. Shift and mouse wheel moves left and right. Now the last thing I want to show you is, just like with the circles and stars, sort of instantly created shapes, we can take an object of text and we can use object to path. And now, well, this has just gone ABC because it's got no text left. So this has ceased to be text as far as Inkscape's concerned. So you can't use the spell checker, you can't insert an extra letter. But what it is, if we double click on it, we can actually see we've got nodes. So we can actually now node edit this. So for this letter T, if I wanted to, I could select the bottom half of that. And just using the arrow keys, start editing it with this one. So with the F2 key, rather than the N key, I could say take that line. Now, as I said earlier, I have a lot of respect for font designers, so this is heartbreaking in terms of my abuse. But if you've got a really creative eye or want to do something wacky, then you've got so much potential now. So that's really what I wanted to show you. The text tool, there's the tool control bar that comes up when you invoke it, and then there's the sidebar as well, and they duplicate most of the same functions. Just type it in as an ordinary text, or you can clipboard it from a word processor if you want to. And then when you've done that, you can use the object to path function in the path menu, and you've got the same freedom as you've had with all the other items in Inkscape. So I hope that's given you a good introduction, and we'll see you in another tutorial. Thanks for listening.